Aisha, the Black Chess Scientist's daughter, and we are on the same chess team. We created this chess channel so that we can share our game analysis and strategies with you. So, right now, you're listening to our first podcast ever, and we're going to do a game review on a chess game that we just did yesterday or this morning.
This was this morning.
This morning, wow. We did a really good chess game this morning. I was what did you call it? Second?
Yeah, you're the chief second.
Chief second. So I'm going to go ahead and start. You should be able to see our screen.
Can we give them a little background on the experiment with the music?
We can do that.
Okay, so you go with that.
So it's scientifically proven that when people are playing chess against a more difficult opponent, the brainwave state shows that it increases from alpha or beta state to theta state. So I ran an experiment where I let my dad listen to some frequencies and tones that help to the mind to relax into that dreamlike state and relaxed state necessary for beating a difficult opponent. And Dad?
It worked wonderfully. I was very, very impressed with the results.
Wonderful. So I was impressed at Dad's chess results. So we're going to go through each move in this game. The game was on chess.com. Winston May, his score is 531.
That's his ELO.
That's his ELO. And ours is 628. And so this is a game that was pretty even. And we're going to go ahead and do a game review. I hope that you enjoy our podcast. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share. Go to Instagram at the Black Chess Scientist for more content. And also, we are wearing our shirts. If you're interested in our shirts and merchandise, you can always hit me up at Acacia Lewis, ACACEA LEWIS. Thank you so much. All right, without further ado, let's get started.
All
right, here we go. All right, let's start the review. All right. Oh, next move. All right, here we go. So our first move was...
That was our opponent's move.
Our opponent's move was d4. That's a book move. Opening with queen's pawn controls the center and usually leads to a more positional development of the pieces. So, Dad, what was your...
Okay, so let's try mine. Okay, I tried to start with what would be called the King's Indian. So the tactic was to try to castle early and give up the center to white. At this point, we're starting the King's Indian defense as black.
All right, and so let's go to the next move. So e4 takes full control of the center and allows the light squared bishop and queen to develop. So king's pawn, our opponent moved to e4, from e2 to e4, and...
Okay, I'm continuing to build my King's Indian. On the king's side, I'm moving the bishop up and preparing to bring out the knight and then castle my king is my attention at this point.
And the King's Indian is a black opening, yes.
It's a defense tactic against white, and it features giving up the center. So as you can see, white has full control of the center, and we wanted it that way.
All right, and so here we go. Nf3 develops the knight, defends the d4 pawn, and controls the e5 square. This is the modern defense with number 1, e4 opening. You've played this opening 232 times as black with a 40% win rate. All right, that was interesting information. Are you ready?
Yep. Okay, so I got nervous, and because I knew I was going to allow him to take control, but my reflexes decided that I was going to move my king's pawn to give me a little more leverage if the pawn were to come forward.
All right. And this develops a knight off of its starting square, getting it into action.
Okay, instead of moving my knight to f6, I moved it to
e7.
e7 instead to give me some more leverage against the pawns coming.
That was really important. I feel like this sets you up in a really good position to have control over the 5th rank. Oh, and so now the opponent gave an inaccuracy. That's what the computer is saying. This is not the best move our opponent made. And so we took advantage of that.
And what I'm doing is I'm going to start a pawn storm on the queen side, and I'm putting the first pawn in place so that if the opponent leaves his bishop there, I can try to move it away with the next pawn.
All right. So he castles.
Okay, now I continue my attack with the pawn storm, and I'm attacking the bishop to try to get him to move away.
All right. And so if everyone can see the screen right now, you see that the pawn clearly b5 attacking square c4 with the light squared.
And what does the analysis say about that?
You kick the opposing bishop with a pawn, forcing it away.
All right.
So it said kick. And so kick is represented by this arrow.
To move, yeah.
Yeah, so he kicked him. This moves the bishop to safety, so they move their bishop back 1 square, moving him to the b3 square.
Okay, I was trying to still continue my pawn storm, but that was labeled an inaccuracy. And what did the inaccuracy say? It
says you missed an opportunity to develop a bishop off of its starting square. So this bishop right here.
And so I locked in my bishop. I should have moved my queen pawn out and to give my bishop access to get out. And
right.
It's locked in.
Now he's got this stagnant bubbles that he's got to stay in. All right. And so our opponent also made an inaccuracy, said this is not the right idea, moving the rook's pawn forward to a3. All right, and so we made a good move.
Okay, so now I atoned for the sins of the past with the last pawn blocking the bishop, and now I let my bishop have a little bit of leeway to come out. And what does it say there?
You strike at the center with a pawn, countering the opponent's ability to grab space. And so we literally have control over this part of the.
So there's 4 squares indicating the center, and we've got one of them. Okay.
All right. And so is your strategy now moving from King's Indian to what is your mid game strategy right now?
Right now, I am trying to lure the opponent to take the pawn, to have a pawn exchange, and to try to exchange queens at some point. And so to try to reduce the amount of pieces to get quickly to an endgame.
All right, and this is important.
It's important for me because I'm very good at the end game and not so at the middle game. And so if I can lure the opponent into exchanging pieces with me, I can get more advantage in the end game.
All right, so this is a really pinnacle moment in the game where Dad is planning for his end game right here, and so he's making sacrifices in the middle game so that his end game can be smooth. Is that correct?
You got it.
All right, here we go. All right, and so our opponent f4 is good. That's what the computer analysis says. This develops a bishop off of its starting square, getting into the action. All right. And then we go ahead and jump into the action as well. Though we missed an opportunity to develop a rook off its starting square. What do you say, Dad?
I agree. That was a inaccuracy, and I should have developed my since the key is to not move your pieces more than once. I should have tried to develop all of my pieces by moving them only once.
All right, and so we're going to go ahead and take a break, you guys, with a message from our sponsor at the Black Chess Scientist. You can buy our t-shirts on Dad's Instagram site at the Black Chess Scientist. You are listening to a game review on Spotify. This, again, is our first podcast, and we are giving you really key advice from a chess improver who has really mastered end games and middle games and openings. So you're getting to see us real-time learning more about how to become better chess improvers. And if you would like to donate, donations are accepted. And you can also like, subscribe, and follow to help support us. Thank you. All right, back to the game. All right, here we go. All right, so right now we are on move 10, we're looking at what our opponent is doing. The summary says that his knight to d4 to e4 was the best move that he could have made. So we go ahead and
So I continue to sacrifice my pawns to lure him into exchange.
all right, and he captures that pawn, wins the material.
Okay, that was one of my goals, is to trade queens as early as possible, and the opponent, by taking my pawn, allowed me the opportunity to trade queens.
All right, and what does trading queen mean to you?
Okay, it means queen for queen. If I take his queen, they take my queen back, and so um, there's
So you're anticipating the next move.
yeah, and reducing the number of pieces on the board. So that was a successful move in my mind at this point.
Excellent. All right, so
And in this move, I'm trying to block the rook from the open file, try to close the file down on him by putting the knight in his way. So if he takes the knight, I take the rook with my pawn.
that's awesome.
So there are 4 squares in the middle. He has 2 of them. I have one of them. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, here we go. Do you want me to go to the next key move?
Oh no, keep using the arrow at the bottom.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so they take with the bishop instead of the rook, so I'll take the bishop instead.
You're going to take the bishop instead, all right?
Okay. All right, so he's got that file locked in, and let's see what happens on the next move here. Okay, I try to castle to protect my king from the oncoming rook. Okay, there's a phrase that said double the pawns. I mean, double the rooks doubles the power. So they doubled their rook to double their power, and to see how he counts. I'm trying uh, to create a situation. If the knight I'm attacking moves out of the way, I can skewer the remaining knight and rook and give them some heartburn there.
All right, and so you're also using psychology on your opponent because you know that adding this bishop is going to increase their pressure to control the narrative in the middle.
Right.
And so you remember what I was saying. I was saying, like, once you get into this diagonal, you can wreak havoc, on all of their main pieces.
Right.
So it's just a matter of getting across this invisible divide of the board to take control. Okay, and so they anticipated that and came into our territory.
And what did the computer say there at their last move?
They said that was a blunder for them.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This loses a knight.
Okay.
So, yep. And we captured a free knight. So that was a great move.
Okay.
On our part. And so he came in and tried to take over the territory. We took him back.
Exactly right.
And so he made a mistake. He ignored an opportunity to win a pawn through an eventual discovered attack.
And so what I'm thinking here is finally developing my knight, which I should have developed early on, and try to get it into the middle so it can attack more squares. What does the computer say about that move?
It says the bishop is undefended.
Okay.
So this move loses material.
Hanging bishop.
Right, and what is a hanging piece for those who are just coming on?
It's an undefended piece. Any piece can be a hanging piece if it's undefended. It would be defended properly if it had a pawn just below and to the left there, or if it had another piece that was if the knight was looking at that square, then it would be undefended piece. But now I have 2 hanging pieces there, along with some hanging pawns. So 3 hanging pieces so far on the board. Well, maybe 2: the bishop and the knight. The pawns aren't really considered hanging because the rook defends the first pawn on the right. So.
All right, and so this is the first 15 minutes of the game, really. We're about a quarter of the way through. We're going to continue on. But I want to ask you, Mr. Sherman, what do you feel like when you were in this position? It looks like we're at a disadvantage, but how did you feel about the end result?
Well, I felt hopeful, and I was going to continue with the plan. The music was going well, and seeing that they also had the king trapped behind three pawns, that always gives me some hope for the ending when the opponent's king is trapped behind its own pawns.
Okay, clap track. All right, let's go ahead and continue. So that was an excellent answer. Thank you so much for sharing your insight there.
Okay.
So now what?
The opponent, read what it said the opponent did.
It says the bishop was free for the taking.
Okay.
You are threatening to play checkmate. It says that's
Okay.
d8 is a good move.
Say no more.
All right. x8 is trading rook for a rook. It's a good trade.
Okay.
You gotta trade rook for rook. Boom, gone. All right. So this takes an outpost, an active square where the knight cannot be kicked out by a pawn. All right. You evade the check from the knight. Great job. It says this is a fair move.
Okay.
You move your bishop.
And so I'm thinking here is not to blunder any pieces, not to have any pieces hanging, and to try, if I get taken by any one of his pieces, to respond in kind. I want to make sure that I don't lose any value of any of my pieces in this point. And it is very tough to do all the calculations, especially with the knight so close to the king, not to get forked by the knight and lose a piece unnecessarily.
And what is a fork?
A fork is when a single piece attacks two pieces simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. All right, and why is that important for our audience? I really think that for all of you who have heard words you don't understand, definitely do yourself a favor and go to Chessable or chess.com, type in the word, look it up on Wikipedia. The history of some of these words is incredible. I think next time maybe Dad will be wearing his Zugzwang t-shirt. I won't give that away for you yet, but I just wanted to pause and let everyone know that vocabulary is very important to understanding the deeper aspects of strategy in the game.
You said it.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. And what does the computer say about
This
his move?
gives away a free pawn.
Okay.
So when he came through, he made a mistake. Sweet.
And instead of taking his pawn, I decided to encourage his bishop to take my pawn. Try to put out the bait. So if he took my pawn, I would take him back. Let's see what happens here. He decided not to. Okay. I'm just simply moving out of check here. Okay.
So this is an equal trade.
Okay.
Best move.
And so this was what I was hoping for, is to reduce the number of pieces and also stop him from taking his baby queen and making it a full queen. Sometimes the pawns are referred to as baby queens or queen embryos, and so I really that term is really imprinted on my mind. So when I see the pawn getting ready to promote, I need to take some immediate action. Okay.
All right. I hope I'm not annoying you guys, but I think that was a great a tip right there, because a lot of times we just see the queen embryo and we don't think that it might become something big and scary someday. So take care of them before they grow up to be big. All right. A solid choice. D4 is excellent. H5 is good. That's what it says.
Okay.
What do you say, Dad?
I'm moving up the board toward the imprisoned king to try to put some pressure on him.
Sounds good. All right. This was a blunder. He lost a pawn this way. If we see the pawn moving from
also
B2
see the bishop
to B3.
staring at the pawn on the h5.
Exactly. And we also made a miss. We overlooked an opportunity to get a free pawn.
Yeah, I did not take the pawn because I was concerned with moving my pieces too far away from the king. I didn't want to lose a piece that was important to the end game, and those pieces are vital to the end game at this point.
That's important. And so now your focus is on the endgame.
Yeah, and making sure that I trade out that bishop and that knight, so that we end up with king and pawn in game. So let's see how that develops.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take another break with a message from our sponsors at the Black Chess Scientist.
Yes.
I am Acacia. I am Mr. Alex's daughter, and we are the team at the Black Chess Scientist.
Yes, and this is how do you improve your middle game?
Love God,
support your family,
and play chess.
Yes.
All right, and so thank you so much. Go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe. Go ahead and follow my dad at the Black Chess Scientist. Again, this is our maiden voyage. Please show us some love and support in the comments, and we hope that you enjoy this episode of Game Review with Acacia and Dad. All right, back to the game. All right, so we are picking up on row 28 of Game Review, Weston May versus the Black Chess Scientist. We're in ELO 600 to 630. That's where we're at, difficulty-wise. All right.
Okay, so I didn't want to let that pawn get past me, so I decided to exchange pawns there.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
And seeing this pawn go past me gave me mixed reactions. One, I was like, oh, the back rank is open for me, but that bishop gave me heartburn. There's a bishop waiting to capture me as I pass, and I decided to forestall any movement on that pawn until I resolved that.
Awesome.
Okay, so now I'm attacking the bishop, encouraging the bishop to take my bishop and giving me a clear road to queendom.
Excellent.
He takes it, and for some reason I decided not to. I could not take back, so this was a bad calculation on my part, because tempting the bishop to take my bishop was a good idea if there wasn't a knight staring down the square that my bishop was in. So that was a blunder on my part.
Oh wow! But we make blunders. We're learning here. We're all improvers. So you know, if this is a chess podcast and you want to listen to someone with all the perfect genius moves, this is a learning experience for both of us. We're learning. So to all chess movers out there, don't give up hope. All right.
And so now he's blocking my pawn. So I have to figure out something else.
All right. What were you thinking here?
Here I was trying to maneuver my knight so that I could take his bishop and get it out of the way so I could promote to queen. And as you can see, my pawns are closer to promotion than his. So
wonderful. All right, and so you can see we're going into an endgame. Now, to the common observer there, it seems like, I already know what's going to happen. White's going to win. He has more pieces. And you're dead wrong. My dad here is going to show you how he does his endgames to ensure that when he has a queen and a king, nothing can stop him from winning the game. And I think that's advice that you guys should pay attention to. A lot of people just stop at this point and give up or have a draw because they don't want a long, drawn out game of skipping around. But there's a way, there's a formula. And so pay attention very closely here, okay, guys? All right.
Okay, I'm moving my king closer to try to encourage that bishop to move out of the way. Okay, and I can see that his knight is ready for the taking. Okay, so now we have a knight versus bishop.
Knight was yours for the taking. Knight versus bishop. Endgame's getting better looking already. You're evening the odds. And so what is this action?
I'm protecting my pawn. And I saw a chance and I took it.
Ooh! Alright, the game was close to equal, but now your opponent has the advantage? I don't believe that. I don't think he has the advantage. But even if he does, it makes the next move.
Okay, now we're
game-changing
at the end game. The pawns and kings. And this is where I excel. I'm studying Jeremy Silman's in-game strategy.
Jeremy Silman's?
Yes, he's on Chessable. He has a course on Chessable, and also there's a book for him. And I've been practicing these end games every day.
Jeremy Silman, if you're listening, you should be really proud because my dad over here doesn't play around.
Well, he's no longer with us, so he's watching us from above. So just that note out there, he passed just recently. So
My condolences.
Prayers to his family, and our thoughts are with them.
Oh.
And so my next thing here is to get my king, up the board in front of my pawn as quickly as possible.
Sounds good. Let's go ahead and watch.
And so my king is in a place where the enemy king cannot he cannot take my pawn no matter what he does. So I let him advance his pawn, and I'm going for the queen.
Wonderful.
Okay, there's my queen, and now I'm going to put her to good use.
All right. The Black Queen rules. Okay. Here we go.
And now I'm going to bring my king in support. Now this is a very interesting point of the game here. He has 2 queen embryos ready to promote, but the game stops every time the king is in check. So I'm going to continue to check the king.
Gotcha.
And now in the book and also on Chessable, this is one of the exercises: how to complete a checkmate using only a queen and a king against a lone king. And this is the end of the game.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for supporting our cast and supporting our efforts as continued improvers.
All right. Thank you so much for supporting our efforts. Thank you, Dad, for sharing your time.
And thank you, Acacia, for making all of this possible.
Oh, well, thank you, Dad. Dad has been teaching me chess since I was, 6 years old? 5 years old? And so I'm learning to be a chess improver, and I get to support my dad and watch his chess legacy blossom. So please follow, and support this podcast. It's made possible through my dad and myself.
And Spotify, right?
And Spotify, and shout out to Riverside FM. Riverside Mobile.
Thank you so much.
All right, peace.
Blessings.
All right.